It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome into Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 103 today. Really glad that you're with us. We've missed you these last 167 hours. Where have you been? That's okay. You don't have to tell us. We're just glad that you are here right now, ready to enjoy this show and ready to enjoy clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. Well, come on in. The pool is fine. The hot tub is fired up. The grill is going full bore with your favorite meat and fish. Fruit and vegetables off to the right, cold drinks off to the left, hot drinks inside, cigar bar in the back left corner, plenty of extra towels, suntan lotion, chairs. If you brought nothing at all, we have everything to give you. So there's no excuse for not coming in and enjoying the show and enjoying the party, clothes-free living, for all of the right reasons. Really glad that you are here. On today's show, Lisa Monroe and I will be having a long segment today. She's coming in right now as we speak. And then we'll get to part two of my interview with Alice DeWitt. She is the current president of the New Zealand Naturists Federation, so part two with Alice today. And as a reminder, next week on episode 104, no guest. For the first time ever, no guest. 1 full hour. Lisa Monroe, Frank Stone, we're going to go at it. We do have some clips to play for you, some music. Otherwise, just the two of us are ready to go. I don't know about you, but I think I hear some music. Could it be? Yes, it is. It's time for the great, the terrific, the completely over-the-top, fully clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the completely over-the-top, fully clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. I'm doing terrific. How are you today?
Not bad. You know, I've never asked you this before, and you've never commented on this. I go through a lot of theatrics while I introduce you. I don't just sit here calmly. I go through a lot of hand motions and facial gestures. Too bad our audience can't see that. Maybe someday we'll do that on video.
That would be an interesting thing to see, is you on video as I come in the room. That's because yes, everyone, he does do a lot of gyrations and gestures and everything, really to try to, make me laugh. Well, it is laughable. No, it is pretty funny. And so we do laugh a lot here, but yes, it's quite a treat to walk in the room.
Yeah. I think I've always pictured radio people sitting calmly behind a microphone, mouth focused right on the microphone, just talking calmly. But if you think about it, they're talking, they're communicating. And when you communicate, a lot of times you use your body, your hands, your face, and different gestures. And so that's what I do. And since it's highly theatrical, the only, that obviously that's theatrical stuff. That's not how I normally speak. I don't go to the grocery store and say, okay, where's the one, the only, the box of Cheerios? They would, sir, come with me, security escort me out. So it's all for show and theatrics. So what, 103 episodes, you've never mentioned what I go through to bring you in physically.
Well, I didn't want to embarrass you, so, seriously, but yes, you do go through a lot, and it's much pretty. Now, I have a question for you.
Oh, boy.
Do you do that to every guest who walks in here?
Well, no, I mean, you know that. Nobody gets an intro like that.
I was just kidding. Just checking, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just say, we're headed out. I always try to say where we're going, where the guest is. We're headed out to California today to talk to, and then a little bit about the person, then we bring him in.
Yes.
But no, so you're the only one who gets the star theatrical Broadway treatment.
I'm so flattered. I don't even know what to say.
As you should be.
I'm just very verklempt about all of it. I mean, it's too much. My audience is too much. No, kidding.
I'll say a few words here while you recover. and we'll
Yes,
get
sir.
into it. We do have, as everybody knows, a Patreon page, and we thank you very much for giving to that page. Whatever you give, we appreciate it, and we give back through the page, either through extra episodes, our newsletter, certainly some gifts we send out. And Lisa Monroe, well, before I bring you back in, because you're still recovering, everybody knows we were doing, gave up paid work to do the show for free. Not too smart, as we were
Nope.
reminded many times by many people. And so your donating to our show covers the expenses, and we really appreciate that. And Lisa Monroe, in every show, we try to introduce two PPPs, paying Patreon peeps. Who do we have today?
Well, today we have Shelley and Theodore. And so we welcome them to Patreon. We love our PPPs and hope that they enjoy being a part of it. And we appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Shelley, and thank you, Theodore, very much. How about anybody else who wants to be a part of the Patreon group and become an official PPP of NNN? You can find us.
Love
Go,
that.
go to patreon.com, type in Naked Nudists and Naturist, or it's the very first link available on every single show. You go to the show notes, boom, like that one rap tune from the 90s. There it is.
Yes. Whoops, there it is. Yes.
We have an inside joke about that. I better move on quickly.
Yes, you should.
But there's the link. You click on that link, you'll find us on Patreon. So thank you very much. Now, Lisa Monroe, merchandise. What's going on there? Any update today?
Well, I'm pretty excited about the newest line we have. We have the line of merchandise that is naked nudist and naturist have on it, and then we have one that has NNN on it, and now we have one that has our slogan on it: "Clothes free living for all of the right reasons." And it's done really well since their 100th show. I'm really tickled that people like the merchandise.
Okay. Oh, very good. What is, you handle all of this. I've mentioned that on the show several times. I literally have nothing to do with the merchandise because I'm busy on other things. We split up the duties here.
Hmm.
So it's possible through merchandise, we've made 10 gazillion trillion dollars and I don't know it. So I am watching every time you pull in. Does she have a new Corvette, new Cadillac? What's going on? Has she purchased a yacht? We have people looking out for these things. As far as I know, none of that's happened. But my question for you is, what is the number one selling product for us? What's flying off the shelves the most?
Well, surprisingly, I think it's the beach towel.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect it. It's not necessarily the cheapest thing that we have on the shop, but it does well, and the coffee cup, but the hats do well as well. So, it's kind of a mixed bag, but I'd say almost everyone who orders something also gets a beach towel. So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
And I will say the Naked Nudist and Naturist logo actually does better than the NNN. So I guess everybody's very proud to say this
Yeah.
is who I am and plan on using it where they can, be open about it. But I really, I'm really encouraged about the new one. I think everyone loves that slogan. So we'll see. And I really like the coffee mug from that because this looks really nice.
I can't wait for somebody to write to us and say, I had my Naked Nudist and Naturist a towel and a few other items at the beach. And somebody came up and said, "Oh, you listen to that show too? Well, here's my towel." And they sit side by side, become best friends for life, all because of this show. I'm waiting for that story. I know it's probably happened. People just haven't told us. But hopefully one of these days we'll get that letter like, "Hey, I have a new friend here because of our towels of your show." Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be cool. And then we could do another line of merchandise that says NNN, bringing naturists together.
There you go.
Hey, that's not actually sort of bad. I kind of
Yeah.
like that. So,
So right now we have Naked Nudists and Naturists, we have NNN, and we have Clothes for a Living for all the right reasons.
yes, sir. That's three
Wow.
different lines of products.
All right. And we recommend people get every single product in every single line.
And they're all in different colors. I mean, you can select colors
Ooh.
too. So, if you want a pink t-shirt, you can have one. If you want a red t-shirt, you can have one. The coffee cups only come one way, but two different colored tote bags for the clothes free living for all the right reasons. And I might go back and add the black tote bag to the other two because the black tote bag looks really nice. So
Okay.
there
All
we
right.
go.
Very good. Thank you for doing all of that.
You're welcome. And by the way, Everyone, I do send him reports, so don't let him fool you that he thinks he doesn't know what's going on.
I'll leave that alone. And tell the people how they can find our merchandise page.
Merchandise is on our website, which is nakednudistandnaturist.com, and just go to the little menu click that says in and in shop, and everything's right there for you. It's really simple to click on the merchandise you want, check out, and go from there.
All right. Well, let's move into an email. We have an email from Rick and Linda out of Pennsylvania, and they gave us permission to use their first names when we present this letter. And it takes me to something I've always done. If I have to stay at a hotel or a resort or whatever, I never have my clothes on unless I have to. Now, we're talking about a textile place. They're at a textile hotel or resort or whatever it is. You can't just walk around the pool, clothes free, but certainly in your room and perhaps on your deck if it's enclosed. We're not into showing off, and neither one of us, Lisa, as we've discussed before, have a need to be seen nude. It's just not part of who we are.
Yeah.
Walk on the deck. Hey, everybody, in case you didn't notice, I'm naked up here on the 8th floor balcony. What do you think? That's never been us and never will be.
No.
But if we can be out on the deck nude, not being seen, and still enjoy the sun and the breeze on our skin, we go for it. And that's kind of sort of where this letter comes from Rick and Linda. So, Lisa, if you don't mind, can you read the first paragraph?
I'll be glad to. It says, Frank and Lisa, I'm feeling extra grateful for your work as I bask in the early morning sunshine here in Pompano, Florida. I've attached a photo of the view of the sunrise from my 8th floor balcony. It was beautiful. Of course, I enjoy being in the nude, even though it's a textile resort. Since we're high up and facing the ocean, we have made it our own little naturist place.
Right. And that's, behind them is their room, so no one's going to see them there. Ahead of them is the ocean. No one's going to see them there. So they just have to worry about left and right. And apparently the dividers are tall enough that they feel private. The second paragraph, the view, the breeze, and sunshine washing across our nude bodies brings an extra warm and peaceful feeling as I listen to you on your podcast. We feel somehow much closer to you since we're in Florida at the seashore instead of our southeastern Pennsylvania home. Keep up the great work, and remember that life is too short to waste it wearing clothes. And if you can go ahead and finish up.
Okay, so feel free to share this with others on the show in the hopes that others may be inspired at their textile resorts as well.
And then regards, Rick and Linda, and we thank you very much, Rick and Linda, for that. Lisa, any comments on that? I've already given you mine. When I get to a hotel or a resort, the clothes come off. They don't go back on unless I have to put them on to go out. Otherwise, nude, clothes free. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same way. You rip. I'm like that at home. Rip off the clothes the second you walk in the door. You rip off the clothes the second you walk in the motel room or hotel room. And I'm the same. If there's privacy on that balcony, I'm all for going out. You know how I am about lying in the sun naked, and I hate tan lines. And so, yeah, I do the same thing. It's just, it just feels better. It's more enjoyable. Get that ocean breeze hitting you and the sun. Yes.
Yeah. I think I've told this story on the show before, but I was at this one massively large hotel. It was actually a casino with a hotel built around it in the middle of nowhere. I wasn't there for the casino. I was there for a conference and had to stay 2 or 3 nights. Well, they had this gorgeous balcony, and it overlooked the mountains. It was out west, so it overlooked the mountains, and the sun was beautiful. The sky was clear. And on the left and right were walls pretty high up, at least 6 feet tall, if not 7. So I thought, well, this is the perfect balcony to be nude under the sun, after the conference is over for the day. And perhaps I ducked out a few minutes early each day just to get some extra sun, but I won't confess to that, at least not today.
Not you.
So I was out there just enjoying it. And, at 2 in the afternoon at a resort, you don't have a lot of people in their rooms. They're either at the casino or they're at a conference or they're doing whatever. But the time to be in your room is at night, usually, at resorts or hotels. And it kind of felt like I was the only one there. So I'm on my balcony just enjoying it, just having a really good, relaxing time. And all of a sudden, on the other side of the wall to my right, I heard a little dog barking. So, okay, shoot, that means somebody's next door to me. And sure enough, within moments, I heard 2 voices, a man and a woman. So I got a man, a woman, and a dog next to me. No big deal. The wall is six,
Uh,
7 feet high. They're not going to be able to see me. And it was a solid wall. It wasn't just a little fencing. It was made out of bricks or mortar or whatever. And it's a pretty solid wall. And so I just thought, I'm going to be really quiet. The radio's not on. I'll make no noise. Nobody will even know that I am here. Well, suddenly I heard the scratching at the wall to my right. Like, what is going on? And then I saw a couple of hands at the top of the wall. Somebody was trying to climb up the wall to see the balcony next door to them, which was me. And luckily, and I could tell they were women's hands. So the woman was climbing the wall. And I thought this could go one of several different ways, most of them not good.
oh, wow.
And so I got out of the chair and beelined it for, inside my room. And I don't know if anything was seen, nothing was ever said. But so you do have to be careful. Even when you're being careful, you have to be even more careful, it seems like, right?
Certainly, and what a nosy woman that was. I mean, why would she even want to know who was next door? So, yeah, not the kind of person I'd like to be in a hotel room next to.
No.
But yeah, just people are strange, and so we have to be careful here in this country because we don't have the freedoms that a lot of other places have. So, yeah, you just have to be vigilant and know what your surroundings are and know who's around you and hope for the best if you decide you're going to strip down. But
Yeah.
it's a shame. It's a shame that you can't just be alone like that and not have to worry about it.
I'm reasonably convinced they did not know that I was there because, again, I was really quiet. I made no noise. I didn't get up and move around. I had no radio, no clinking, naked nudist and naturist coffee mug on the table next to me. But it was 10 or 15 years ago, so we didn't
Yeah.
have him yet. So I think she was just climbing up the wall to see what was next door. Hey, what kind of balcony do they have? She probably climbed up on the wall on the other side. But there were some comments made as I was dashing
Mhm.
into the
Mhm.
room. I could hear her laughing and then her
Mhm.
saying something to him. He said something back, and I thought, I'm out of here. I'm shutting the door. I am not going back outside today. And nothing was ever said. I never met them, never saw them. So, dodged a bullet, as they say. But yeah, always be careful. That's our
Yeah.
advice. You don't want to be out there and, hey, look at me, everybody. I'm on a private balcony, but hey, I'm naked in case you want to see.
Mhm. Excuse me.
We don't recommend that at all.
Waving flags, doing all sorts of
Yeah,
things. No, no attention. I just never have liked to draw attention to myself. So that would be an obvious place I would not want to do that. So
right.
I don't know, but what a crazy woman.
Yeah, well, or just curious. Who
Yeah,
knows?
nosy.
But very similar to what Rick and Linda went through,
Mhm.
just enjoying their balcony. Okay, we can be out here nude. Nobody can see us. Well, that's the time to go for it. Absolutely. So, again, to Rick and Linda from Pennsylvania, thank you very much. And too bad we didn't see them when they were in Florida, but we didn't know. And, maybe sometime we'll meet up with them if they come back this way. I also wanted to talk about something that's come to our attention. A few people have written in, and we've talked a lot before about, okay, you're a naturist, you love to be clothes free, you have your first date with a woman or with a man or whatever, and do you tell the person? And we've always recommended, based on advice we've heard from other people about other things, by the third date, you probably ought to be getting into this because the third date now it's getting serious. Now you're actually seeing this other person by choice and on purpose. You know who it is. So it's not, well,
Mhm.
I think I'll check her out, see what's going on. No, you already know what you're getting into. So by the third date, you've now on purpose twice. After the first date, you don't know. But the second date was on purpose, third date on purpose. It could get serious. You just never know. And so we always advise to come clean, as they say, the earlier the better. Well, the question is, what if you enter a relationship and you're not a naturist or you don't know it, and then a few years into the relationship, somehow this comes to your attention. That'd be kind of cool. Then you take your clothes off when your significant other isn't there, and wow, this feels great. Then you go swimming in the pool when your other person isn't there. Wow, this feels great. And then you look it up on the internet, you find us or some other content, and you realize, my goodness, I'm a naturist. I love to be clothes free for all the right reasons. 25/8. Now, what do you do? Before I say anything, I'm going to hand that over to you. What do? You discover 2 or 3 years into a relationship, I'm a naturist. I love to be naked. She's going to think I'm nuts. What do I do? Or he.
Well, my number one rule is about relationships is you never lie to each other. The communication has to be true and honest. And so, it's a tricky situation because it depends on how the other person, is about certain things. And so if you suddenly decide you want to be a naturist and they despise that, then you might have a problem on your hands. So do you continue and sneak around, or do you just put it away, or do you actually say, listen, I was by the pool and I just thought, you know what, I'd like to try swimming naked. And I took the trunks off and jumped in, and it was wonderful. And have you ever tried it? You want to try it with me? Something along those lines. Just try to, to bring them into it. But that's a really, it's bad enough when you're naturist and you don't tell them before the relationship. But if there's something that's changed with you and you suddenly become a naturist and the other person doesn't know anything about it, I don't know how in the world you could do that, but people do sneak around.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That my thought is you better be honest. Tell the truth.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've told people too, and I've written back. Just go to her or go to him. In every case that's come to my attention, it's the guy writing. What do I tell my wife or my girlfriend? Well, you tell her everything. You just
Yeah.
sit down and say, "Hey, you won't believe what I found," because that happens in relationships. Apart from nudism, you discover a new interest, maybe a new food, maybe a new
Hmm.
museum. Hey, I heard about this really cool museum. I want to
Hmm.
go. And if she says, "Are you nuts? I have no interest in that topic, whatever it
Hmm.
is." Well, let's go anyway. Just go for me and check it out.
Hmm.
Or if you really don't want to go, you mind if I go alone? But you're upfront about it. And people have no
Hmm.
problem with those kind of new interests. Same thing with naturism, nudism. It's come to your attention. You learned about it. You didn't know it ahead of time. Go to her or go to him right away. Say what it is and say, I'd like to try this. I'd like to go to a resort or a beach or
Hmm.
whatever. So that basically that's your advice as well.
Absolutely. And if you approach someone that way and they're all of a sudden very adamant about, no, I won't ever want to do that, then maybe you should try to explore why. Because it may just be a innate fear. It may be back to that thing that we always talk about, body positivity. Maybe they're just afraid to be naked in front of people and they need to get past that kind of situation. So, if you talk about things, things work out. If you don't talk about them, you've got more and more problems than you ever wanted to have. So I think just darn it, be honest. And people can develop other tastes. All of a sudden you like you really love to go to a Thai restaurant and you've never been there before, but you went there for lunch with somebody and at work or something. And so suddenly you've learned a new thing that you like and you want that person that you care about to join with you. So it's natural to want them to be part of that. But naturism is a very personal thing too. So that puts a different level on, Thai food versus naturism. So it's a little bit of a difference in what occurs. So, just talk to them. And I'm not a real big fan of, well, I won't say that I'm not, but I think it's kind of not a good thing if someone says, hey, just go do it, and they go do it, and suddenly they're doing it a lot and so forth without them. I think that even though there's nothing to untoward, there's no issues, there will start to be a lack of trust between them because, oh, I'm going off to the nature's resort. I'll see you later, honey,
Yeah.
and leave them at home. So even if they're okay with it at first, they may not be okay with it later.
Yeah, it's always a little tricky and sticky, these situations, but that's why we stay away from specific advice because people are different. Every relationship is different. But in general, we advise being upfront and getting it all on the table. And your spouse or girlfriend, boyfriend might not immediately say, "Wow, really? Well, let's try it." Great
Mhm.
if they do, and some do.
Mhm.
Others might say, "Okay, you didn't tell me you were a pervert before." And that's the opposite end. It's like, "No, I'm not
Yeah.
a pervert. I have no desire to do anything other than have my clothes off." Just get into it, have the
Yeah.
discussion,
Yeah.
make your decision together. And yeah, like you said, don't say, "Well, forget you, honey, you can sit home
Mhm.
and do whatever you want. I'm going to the naked beach."
Mhm.
That's probably not going to pay off well down the
Mhm.
road either.
No, and there are clothing optional places where someone can be clothed and
Yeah.
still be with someone else. So maybe that's the first path that you take is where they don't have to take their clothes off, but they'll become comfortable with other people. So, and they'll either join in or they won't. But don't shut them out even if they don't want to participate, if you shut them out, that's just going to be a real problem.
Yep.
In my opinion.
So there you go. We wanted to address that. The last thing, Lisa, very quickly, because we have to move on. I want to get to the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Is next week is a big deal for us. It's going to be episode 104. And people have asked from the beginning, why don't you and Lisa just do a show together? Just the two of you, no guests, just the two of you for 60 minutes. Well, it's coming to fruition next week. You and I will be alone, just the two of us, no guests, no anything. I think we're going to be okay. What do you think?
I think we can probably find something to talk about for 60 minutes. Naturism is important to both of us, but I have to say that this is the 100th episode was really kind of exciting and also nerve-wracking for us to put it together and decide how to do it. And it was weeks of working on that. And suddenly we're going to do this, and I'm not so sure. I'm a little more apprehensive about it than that. But no, we can manage, I think, hopefully.
All right, off to the interview with Alice DeWitt, New Zealand Naturists Federation. We'll see you at the end of the show. And until then, Lisa Monroe, go out there and have a great clothes-free half hour or so, and we'll see you in a little bit.
Okay, off to get coffee. Talk to you later.
All right. The very terrific Lisa Monroe does a whole bunch around here in addition to these segments. And yes, she's off to get coffee because the coffee is never ending around here. A cup gets close to being empty, it gets refilled right away. And we just have a good time around here, frolicking around and drinking coffee and creating content. And we'll hear from Lisa Monroe again near the end of the show. Well, as a reminder, we are the official podcast for the American Association for Nude Recreation. Are you a member? If so, great. But if not, you can become one today within moments. Just go to aanr.com, follow the navigation through membership, and within moments, just like Lisa Monroe is and just like I am, you will become a member of the American Association for Nude Recreation. How about that? Well, you are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 103 today. We thank you for being with us. We enjoy this time together with you. And now let's get to part two of my interview with Alice DeWitt, the current president for the New Zealand Naturists Federation. I can tell you for sure, being a wedding photographer, you are used to working really, really hard.
Yeah.
The reason I know this is in addition to working with symphony orchestras and opera companies and whatever, I would often play wedding gigs as a musician. It actually pays better money than a symphony orchestra, believe it or not, for a lot easier music. Like I can go in there and play these simple tunes and make more money than if I play Beethoven or Mozart. Made no sense, but that's life. And I would watch these photographers, and they're just buzzing here and buzzing there, and my day or my night would be 4 hours. We'd work maybe 8 to 12. Now we'd have to leave the house early, get there early, set up, tear down, get home. So it really turned into a lot longer than 4 hours, but I was paid to work 4. Photographers, you might have the wedding in the morning and then a million pictures in the park and then a million pictures somewhere else. And you might get a break, you might not, but then we have the reception and then the fun begins again. That's a really long day for a wedding photographer, isn't it?
Yes, it's a very long day, a lot of hours, and you have to be fully focused and concentrating the entire time. You can't miss any moment because there's no second take. So you have to really be on your game, really be focused that entire day. So normally after meeting, I'm just absolutely knackered.
I believe it. Probably sleep for days after that because I've seen a number of them, and most of the ones I worked with were really good. There were a couple of, like in every profession, they didn't know what they were doing or they were too new to really have the job. But the really good ones like yourself, you're working hard because like you said, there are no second chances. When that first kiss at the reception or feeding each other the cake, you can replicate it, but everybody will know even 20 years from now, that wasn't the first kiss, actually. That was the 17th one because the photographer blew the first 16. It just loses its magic, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly. You have to be really on your game.
Yeah. So that's something you're still doing actively, whether it's weddings or anything, just in the photography business?
Yes. Although I do it part-time. I do basically, I have two businesses. My other business is pet sitting. So I look after people's pets when they go away on holiday, just go and visit their pets. So I do the two businesses part-time.
Just enough to keep you really busy, in addition to being the secretary of your club and the president of the whole country's federation.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Now, regarding the International Naturist Federation, I know the New Zealand group left the INF for a while, and I don't know why. We don't need to get into that, but you're back now, and part of the reason New Zealand is back with the INF is because of you. You had an idea, you made a proposal. Tell us about that, how you got back together with the INF and why.
Yes, I did suggest that a few years ago. That would have been 3 years ago because we had two presidents since then. Yeah, so I suggested at the AGM, that would be 3 years ago, that, well, I discussed it with the executive at the time and said, I really think the NZNF needs to rejoin the INF. And I gave the reasons why. And I said, whatever the reasons were back then, that's water under the bridge. I think we need to move on and we need to rejoin the INF. And I proposed it at the AGM. I was a bit concerned. I didn't know what the reaction was going to be. The decision was made that the NZNF will ask all the clubs for their feedback to get an idea of what the clubs would like to do. And basically everyone was for it and said, yes, let's rejoin the INF. And we rejoined. And yeah, I mean, I just felt at the time that it's really still in New Zealand. You know, we're already here on our own, separate from the world in a way. And I just thought, yeah, we need that international recognition. Otherwise, it seems as though we don't even have naturism in our country. And yeah, we were part of the INF for many years. So
yeah,
I just thought it was a very necessary step to take.
Yeah, you are, if people look at a map and look where New Zealand is, you are really isolated. You're just kind of out there in the South Pacific all by yourself. And basically, yes. As I understand it, New Zealand is made up of two fairly large islands, kind of north, one to the north, one to the south. Then you have several hundred little tiny islands. I saw online 600 one place, 700 somewhere else. They're all over the place. But you live toward the north of the North Island, which means there's a whole lot of New Zealand land to the south of you. Any issues with that in terms of travel as the president of the Naturists Federation? I know you can't get everywhere, but let's say somebody in the deepest south of the southern island says, hey, can you come down here? It can't be easy to do, but is it something you're willing to do?
Oh, yes, definitely. I would definitely be willing to travel. I have traveled to some clubs that's, by plane. So I visited Wellington, for example. Mm-hmm. I visited Pine Glades, which is in Christchurch in the South Island. I'm more than happy to travel to any club in the whole of New Zealand. Obviously, the clubs that I can get to via car is obviously slightly easier to visit more frequently, but right. I would still, and there are still a few clubs in the South Island, for example, that I would love to visit, especially since I lived there for 2 years. So I have a very strong connection to the South Island as well, not just to the North Island. Okay. Even though I prefer our weather here, but yeah. I really love the South Island. There's something about the South Island that I absolutely love. So I love seeing all the clubs in New Zealand and visiting clubs if I can.
Okay, well, that's great. How, I don't know the answer to this. I know how far it is for me to get where you are. It's about 8,000 miles, and it would take 24 hours or maybe a little more to get there by plane. That's a long trip. Obviously not that far from Auckland, which is where you are, down to Wellington. About how many miles would that be? I know you probably deal more in kilometers, but in terms of miles?
Not quite sure how many miles it would be, but I mean, the plane ride would be about 1 or 2 hours. So it's not like you're going to sit on a plane for hours and hours. The same if you were flying to the South Island, it would be 1 or 2 hour flight.
Yeah, that's doable. That's not an overnight stay and pack a lunch and everything else. You can get there reasonably quickly, right?
Yes, that's definitely very doable.
Well, that's very good to hear, and that you're all over the place. Even though you live toward the north of the North Island, you can still get everywhere. And I'm sure it's pretty busy. And you said it's a 2-year term, and you're just getting started at the beginning of 2025, or you got elected in December. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you'll go for 2 years, and then you, in the United States, with the American Association for Nude Recreation, you can run for 2 years. You get a 2-year term, and then you can run again for a second 2-year term. But then that's it. You can't run again. You have to take 2 years off, and I think you can run again after that. Anything like that in New Zealand, or can you just run for a 2-year term from now until the end of time?
I think you can run indefinitely, but I may have to double check that. There isn't a provision against it of, what I'm aware of. Although I don't think we have had that situation where someone was running, for 30 years. But we have had people maybe being presidents for quite some time. I don't think there's any regulations that we have against that.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine somebody getting the presidency and saying, you know what, I'm going to do this for 100 years. And about 3 days into the job, they say, whoa, this is a lot of work. Maybe I won't go for 100 years after all.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, any surprises to you when you took over the presidency? You've been involved. You're obviously the marketing person. You're the secretary of your club. So it wasn't totally new to you. But then again, when you actually get in the seat, there are things that happen and come at you that you can't possibly anticipate or expect until you're in the seat. Anything in particular that, whoa, what is this? Now that I'm the president, I wasn't expecting this, good or bad.
Well, not really. We have had we had a resignation from our marketing person just after I got into the job. However, I wasn't too surprised because I know the lady quite well, and she was, hesitant to run even last year. And I spoke to her about this at the time, even though I wasn't president at the time. So it didn't come as too big a shock to me, although, obviously it was kind of a shame. And so we'll just need to look at replacing, also putting someone else co-opting someone else into that role, which, the marketing role is already challenging. So that's going to be interesting to look into that. But yeah, other than that, touch wood, haven't had too many issues pop up yet.
Well, I saw somewhere, I think it's something that you wrote, that there weren't a whole lot of guidelines for the marketing person. So you get this position and then you're not sure what to do. There's no one to tell you what to do. There are no rules or guidelines. And so part of what you've already done, I think you were the leader behind this, is you put some kind of a budget in there for advertising, right?
I think that, yes, that was the previous person who was in marketing. Yes, there was a budget put in for marketing last year.
Okay.
When I was doing marketing, there wasn't much of a budget, which was quite a challenge.
Yeah.
So, but I just had to do a bit of thinking outside of the box and propose things that, I could think of that I thought might help, might work. I also did a lot of interviews, which was, for free. We didn't pay anything for that. So I did quite a lot of interviews in the time that I did marketing on TV, on radio, in newspapers, and, the media, if someone in the media contacts you and then you did something on TV, then you often, the media people talk to each other. So you might then get someone else contact you and say, oh, can I, do an interview with you as well? So, and I've had, even as president, I've had quite a few interviews already. So that's at least marketing in that sort of form, even though it doesn't cost us anything.
Yeah, those are the best kind to get, right?
Yes, exactly.
Free and good publicity is probably the best way to go, but it's good that you have a budget just in case you want to take out some ads. Now now being in June in the USA, we're kind of thinking, oh, this is really great and sweet and perfect weather to be outside in the nude. You're not really thinking that right now in the month of June because your seasons are flipped from ours. It's basically winter now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's winter and cold.
What's the coldest it gets in New Zealand on the average, any particular winter?
It depends where you are. It greatly depends where you are in New Zealand, because where I am in Auckland, it's fairly north. So it's humid, which regulates temperature a little bit more. So our winters it doesn't get that cold. Our summers also doesn't get that hot.
Okay.
So our winters are fairly mild, even though it's quite wet. Whereas if you were in the South Island, their winters can get quite cold, although it's a crisp cold. So the days might be sometimes quite warm because you have that hot, dry air, but the temperatures can really drop at nighttime. So they might sometimes go into the minus degrees, whereas you won't get that in Auckland, for example.
Okay. There was a place I lived for a little bit, did a lot of work in the southwestern United States. And there would be a 30 to 40 degree swing between, let's say, 3 in the morning or even 6 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. I'd have to leave my home with a coat on and then have shorts and a T-shirt in my car to throw on to drive home because the change would be that massive. That's what kind of happens there in some parts as well.
Yes, I'd say you'd find that in the South Island. You'd literally one day it might, the temperature can drop 10 or 15 degrees between 2 days, whereas you won't get that so much in the further north you go, you don't get that so much, but then you have the humidity and it's wettier, get a lot more rain. So it's actually the South Island and the North Island have very different sort of temperatures and very different sort of weather in many ways.
Yeah, well, that's good to know as well. Now, something you do in New Zealand that I noticed online, in fact, it's on your website for the New Zealand Naturists Federation. You have an annual national New Zealand Naturists Federation Festival, which takes place roughly the end of December through the beginning of January. What goes on at this annual national festival?
Yes, so we changed it recently that it can be every year, but it can also be every second year to put less so that there's not as much pressure on the clubs. However, our AGM has to be every year. The festival, well, the last festival was at Pine Glades, for example, which is a big club in Christchurch. That was over December and January. We had the AGM as well. Normally the festivals, it's basically just that. A festival caters for, the whole idea is everyone from the entire New Zealand, all the clubs are invited and come along and stay over at the club. They normally have a whole lot of events on, a whole lot of sport games on. It depends on how long the club wishes to host the festival. A lot of festivals are normally like a week, usually between Christmas and New Year when people are on leave. But it doesn't have to be that time. It can be later in January or early in December if the club chooses to host it then. Normally it's a club who puts up their hand and says, look, we'll host the festival. Yeah, it's mainly just, to me, the festival is all about just going to that club. You may not have been to that club before, so the festival might motivate you to go to the club, and there's all these wonderful things going on, these great events, a whole lot of people that you meet from all different clubs everywhere in New Zealand. It's really wonderful vibe. Yeah, I really love the festivals, and it's a lot of sports they play.
You have, speaking of sports, you have some different sports, including some that I've either never heard of or it's been so long I forgot what they were. But one, I think I heard about this about a year ago. They play it in the UK. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Miniton, is that how you say that?
Miniton, yeah.
Tell us what that game is all about. I have the description in front of me, but just go ahead and tell our listeners what that game is about.
Well, I'm no good at Miniton, so at least I don't have to demonstrate. It's basically like tennis, but it's on a smaller court, and you don't play with tennis rackets. You play with I don't really know how to describe it. These wooden things that you would hold. So it's a little bit like tennis, but almost a smaller version of tennis in a way. Maybe that's why they call it mini team.
Mini tennis. Okay, I get it now. There's another one which I probably shouldn't even try to pronounce. Tennicoits. Am I even close?
Tennicoits.
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Well, on your website, it says it's an outdoor game which was started in the early 1960s. It was played by high school girls in the USA since the 1930s. 4
Oh,
decades since its inception, the game has risen from district to international levels with nearly 20 countries all over the world competing
oh,
for the crown. So, what is this sport all about?
tennis quotes. I'm not quite sure. Then we played the Tonk Cup, Mini Team. Yeah, tennis quotes. I'm not quite sure. Unless there's another name for that I don't know of.
I could also be very badly pronouncing it, but it says also on your website a
Oh,
typical
I'll
court.
have a look.
Yeah, a
Hmm.
typical court looks like a badminton court. Each individual tries to score 21 points in order to be declared a winner. However, to be declared a winner, one has to maintain a minimum of 2-point lead over the other opponent.
Oh, yes, it may be. There's another name for it.
It sounds
Just
like
trying to think. Yeah,
it's not badminton. It says it's similar to
yeah.
badminton, but
I think it's similar to badminton. Yeah, yeah, it's
okay.
similar to that. Yeah.
Okay, well, that game I can understand. We play that a lot over here too. And then the third game that I've never heard of before, Three Down. That says it's a fairly new game.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, what's
yes.
that game all about?
That's, I think, yeah, been quite popular the last few years. It's really taken off. It's basically, I think, there's a few words for it. Cornhole is another word for
Yeah.
it.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's basically cornhole. I don't know if that's if you know
Yeah,
that game. So yeah, it's basically the same, and I think it's really nice. It appeals to people because any people of any age can play it.
yeah. Cornhole has taken off so much in the United States. They actually have national competitions on national TV, if you can believe that.
Wow.
Yeah. Just a game you'd play in your backyard to kill an hour or so, and you have nothing else to do, is now a professional sport, at least to some level. I don't know if anybody makes a living at it, but they can certainly make some money on the side. The better they
Yeah.
get, so it's kind of a fun game, right? And
Yeah.
to
That's
me, games
interesting.
like
Yeah.
that, the best part of those kinds of games is you're playing it with other people and you're having a few laughs along the way, right?
Yeah. There's a social element.
Yeah, yeah, which is very
Yeah.
huge in naturism, although it doesn't have to be. And as I told you before we started recording, we have found out more and more from this show, and we get these emails every week, a lot of home naturists out there. They are always nude in their home, kind of like you were, back in South Africa, but
Yeah.
they're never nude outside of the home. They never go to a club. They never go to a nude beach, nor would they ever go. They just can't imagine themselves being in that environment. And so, well, okay, that's their choice, their deal. But I've
Yeah.
also seen people who had that same stance. Oh, I would never go to a nude beach. But then they go. It's like, why haven't I been coming here every day for the last
Yeah.
150 years? So you have those two elements of thought. And have you seen that before where people say, well, that's not for me? And then they try it and they say, whoa, this is for me.
I've seen it with the visitors that we've had at my club where I am. Yeah, quite a few visitors might say, "Oh, yes, well, we've been nude around the house quite a while. And yeah, and then we went to a beach and it really works for us." Or some people just say, "Oh, well, yeah, I'm sometimes naked in the house," and they just come to the club first off, and then they just, yeah, totally just strip off and get into it and say, "Yeah, I didn't think I would feel this comfortable here." And then I say to him, "Yeah, it's that build up beforehand. You think, oh wow, what am I going? Oh, it's just." And then once you get there, it's actually, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
not really that big a deal.
And then you don't want to leave and you can't wait to get back the next time.
Yes. And
Yeah.
then you almost feel weird. Like it's like your brain goes, what is the norm now? Because you were at the club, that was the norm. And then you go back into society, but which is the norm.
Yeah. Yeah. And none of us want to put our clothes back on, but we're still told that we have to. So I guess that's why we do
Yes.
it until we don't have to anymore. One of the things I'd like to get past, and this might never happen in our lifetimes, but having people hear about naturism, nudism, clothes for a living, and they laugh at it or they snicker, oh, you're
Yeah.
into that or whatever. And I noticed that a little, and I'm not being critical of this gentleman, the guy who interviewed you on TV. I think it was World Naked Gardening Day. You were there, live shot,
Yeah.
and you were nude, but behind plants or flowers or something. And he was just kind of constantly laughing or snickering, and you could hear people off the side, off the set, you could hear them kind of laughing too. It's like, do you think we'll ever get there where people don't laugh when they hear the word nude or nudity or nudism or naturism?
I think it's difficult because the media will always try. The thing is, they actually feel uncomfortable with nudity. It's not us. So they try to, someone who's not a naturist, try to deal with the uncomfortable situation. And the only way they can deal with it is to kind of laugh and make it out as it's kind of a joke.
Yeah.
Because then they will feel less uncomfortable. But we don't feel uncomfortable. It's them who feel uncomfortable, probably a lot with things more with themselves, because it's something that you kind of have to you either embrace it or you don't. And I think the media might try and to make it, I don't know, appeal to them, or something. They might sometimes make a joke out of it. The way I see it is, if they really are naturists, or that sort of lifestyle appeals to them, if they see that on TV or hear that on the radio, whether or not the media makes a little joke about it, I don't think that will affect that person thinking, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I've never thought about this. Oh, they mentioned the website, I'll go and have a look. I don't think that person will, either way, you're getting the message out. To me, it's important to get the message out there, because not everyone's it's not going to appeal to everyone. No matter what you do, you will only reach a certain amount of people, and you just want to reach that amount of people who are naturists, potential naturists. And the media, most people out there just won't get it, and they never will. And they'll try and deal with it in ways to make themselves feel comfortable. But yeah, it's not really anything to do with us. It's more their own problem.
Yeah,
I think
that is probably the best answer I've ever heard of that question, that particular question, because I think a lot of people, when they see a nude person, their first reaction is, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe they're naked." And their second reaction, if they were to see you nude, for example, on this particular interview, she's not making any move to cover up. So that makes them even more uncomfortable. Like, does she not realize she's naked? Hello, I can see her. What's going on here? As opposed to, and then your reaction is, I'm Alice and I'm just here and I'm enjoying the interview.
Yeah.
The total opposite. And so that's probably a good answer. I'm thinking in terms of a naturist, and they're not. They're just thinking, she needs to get some clothes on. Does she not know she's naked? Is that kind of the reaction you get a lot too?
Yeah. I think it's difficult because we're so used to being naturists. So we forget how people who are not naturists think and what a big deal it is to them. And it's like, whoa, because we just forget how that, is a big jump.
Yeah. I said on the show recently, and this is the honest truth. Obviously, I keep a pair of gym shorts and a T-shirt near the front door in case I have to go outside, either go check the mail or, whatever's going on.
Yes.
And I always, before I open the door, I look down to make sure I have put my clothes on. Even though in my mind I think I just did, I do a double check because it's so normal and natural to be without them. I could easily walk out there, get my mail, say hi to 2 or 3 neighbors, and think nothing of it, and literally think nothing of it until they call, like an hour or 2 later. Do you realize, Frank, you were naked at the mailbox? What? No, I think I had clothes on. No, you didn't. So we get so ingrained in what we do that it just feels normal and natural being without clothes. I have to physically and literally and mentally check. Okay, I see a shirt on me. I'm looking in the mirror. There's a shirt. There's some shorts. Now I'm good to go. That almost seems silly to a non-naturist, but to the two of us and all other naturists, that's kind of normal, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've countless times almost, driven out of the club naked, and I once even had to stop right in front of the gate, and I realized, I'm not wearing anything.
Yeah.
Where's my clothes? And then I had to look for my clothes. Like, where did I put my clothes?
That's exactly how it works. And I guess we just have to be more careful, probably more careful in the USA than in New Zealand, because, around here, it really depends kind of sort of on the people as well. If I were to walk out nude to my mailbox and nobody called the police, I guess that'd be okay. But if somebody did call the police, then it's suddenly not okay. The same act is either okay or it's not. And that makes it really tough on us, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is very difficult, especially you just want to be a naturist. You don't want to provoke people and you don't want to deal with anyone else's angst. You just want to be who you are.
Yeah, very well said. Well, it's been great to have talked to you today. We've been talking to Alice de Wit. She is the current president of the New Zealand Naturists Federation, also the secretary of her own club. And what's the name of your club, Alice?
Auckland Outdoor Naturist Club.
Okay, and that's obviously in Auckland, toward the north of the North Island. If anybody wants to visit there, it's only a little over 24 hours from Florida. You can get there in a day. You'd be really tired when you get there. Do you guys ever get over here, you and your husband or anybody else, come over to the USA?
I've never been there, sadly. I would love to see the US, yeah.
Well, we'll get you over here one of these days. So your life has mostly been South Africa and New Zealand?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Well, one of these days we'll get you here. We have a lot of nudist naturist resorts in Florida. We have the nude beaches on the east coast of Florida. And there's a county in Florida called Pasco County. It's considered to be the nudist capital of the United States because they have the most nudist resorts per capita of anywhere, of any county in the country. No nude beach over there, though. That's on the west side of the state. Makes no sense. Maybe eventually we'll get one. But where I live on the East Coast, we have some nude beaches. So I think you'd love it here. I think you and your husband and your son would have a good time over here.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think we would really love it. And I would love to see USA.
All right. Well, one of these days we'll do it. Again, Alice de Wit, the president of the New Zealand Naturists Federation. Alice, go out there and have a great close-free day. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Thank you.
I enjoyed the chat.
I did too. Thank you.
Thank you.
The very terrific Alice de Wit, the president of the New Zealand Naturists Federation. And we appreciate all of Alice's time on these last two shows. And on next week's show, which will be episode 104, no guest, just one full hour of Frank and Lisa. How about that? And before we bid you farewell for the week, let's bring back Lisa Monroe. Welcome back, Lisa Monroe.
Man, glad to be back, even for a short time.
Less theatrics that time, but you're still here, and that's what matters the most.
Yes, sir. You can tone it down a little bit whenever you choose to, but but I will admit, I kind of like the bombastic entrance. But anyway, that's just
all
me.
Right. Well, we do try to calm it down near the end of the show. We don't want to send people off in a tizzy like, oh, what's going on? No, just, okay, all right, we're settling down. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed talking to Alice from New Zealand Naturists Federation. Just seems like a really genuine person who just loves naturism, loves life, and just enjoys doing what she's doing. Your thoughts?
I think so too. And I remember the first time that I saw a picture of her, and she just looked like she had this lively personality about her. And so I really enjoyed listening to her and everything that's going on in New Zealand and all the things that they want to do, because, that is a beautiful country, one place I'd love to go to at some point in time. Yeah. And so it's just really fun to see how much fun the New Zealand naturists have, because they can be naturists in a general way that we can't be. So kudos to her, and I enjoyed her interview very much.
All right. Well, we'll head for the hills, and now next week you'll have to get some extra sleep, because it's just going to be the two of us for the entire show. Are you ready to go? Are you pumped up and ready to go in the game?
You betcha. I'm ready to go. This will be fun. It'll be fun. Hopefully everyone will like it, but it'll be fun for us.
Oh, there's no question. People have been asking for this as I've said before, since the beginning of the show, way back in July of 2023. So we're going to do it, and we have some more of these planned out for the rest of 2025 as well. Every X number of weeks or so, we'll do another one. Just a different approach, and people have asked for it, so we listen to our listeners. We're giving you what you've asked for. And so we'll do it next week, episode 104. Until then, Lisa Monroe, go out there and have a great close-free week. We'll see you next time.
Okay, you too, Frank, and everyone have a great close-free week as well, and we will see you next week for whatever that turns out to be.
Sounds good. Well, you've been listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 103 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked Nudists and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked Nudists and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.